Humans are the ultimate defenders of their home, just ask the aliens who faced them. Best HFY stories. The galaxy had seen many races, each with its own peculiar strengths and weaknesses. Some had towering intellects, others commanded armies of robotic warriors, and many possessed technology that could bend space itself. But none were quite like humans. To the untrained eye, humans seemed like just another species, short-lived, fragile, and often more interested in politics or personal ambition than the grand sweep of the universe. Yet, to those who had the misfortune of challenging them, the message was clear: humans were the ultimate defenders of their home, and any alien that underestimated them did so at its own peril. It began, as these things often do, with a simple misunderstanding. The Kothari, a warlike alien race from a far-flung part of the galaxy, decided Earth was the perfect target for their expansion. Their fleet, led by the ruthless Captain Varlock, descended on Earth with little more than the flickering of their sensors. They were sure they could subjugate the primitive humans in a matter of hours, perhaps days. But there was one thing Captain Varlock didn't account for: the human spirit. At first, the invasion went smoothly. Human forces, ill-prepared for an assault from space, scrambled to organize a defense. The Kothari were confident, too confident. Their battle tactics were based on overwhelming firepower, and they had already set their sights on Earth's major cities, their troops landing in key locations, ready to crush any resistance. But humans are not so easily cowed. In the depths of their cities, under the banner of Fight for Home, ordinary people did the extraordinary. Governments fell, and militias rose, a ragtag group of citizens, from teenagers with makeshift rifles to seasoned veterans of countless wars, joined forces. Scientists worked around the clock to develop weapons to counter the advanced Kothari tech. The ingenuity of humanity was unmatched, and the Kothari began to realize their mistake. As the weeks dragged on, the Kothari's initial sense of victory faded. They had underestimated the human capacity for resilience. Every strike they made was met with counterattacks. A civilian in a small village would rig an EMP device to disable their ships, while soldiers in the streets held their ground against superior numbers. The Kothari couldn't understand how this species, so seemingly insignificant, could keep coming back from every blow. One night, under the cover of darkness, Captain Varlock's ship was ambushed. Human forces had planted explosive devices along the Kothari's landing zones, and after hours of tense silence, they detonated. The explosion crippled the Kothari fleet. It was a devastating blow, but it was far from the end. The real shock came when the human forces launched a full-scale offensive, pushing back the invaders with a combination of sheer determination and newfound technology. The Kothari, known for their precision and overwhelming firepower, began to lose ground to what they saw as inferior tactics, surprise, adaptability, and relentless resolve. Varlock, now desperate, called for a ceasefire, convinced the humans had some secret weapon that was beyond his comprehension. But when they met face to face, he saw only a weary human general, standing tall despite the scars of battle. "Why do you fight?" Varlock demanded. "You are nothing compared to us. Your planet is insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe. What do you hope to accomplish?" The general, a woman named Commander Helena Cross, looked him in the eye. "We fight because this is our home," she said simply. "We fight because no one has the right to take it from us. And we fight because humans never give up." And so, Captain Varlock learned the hard way that Earth was not just a blue planet in the corner of a distant galaxy. It was the home of humans, their home, and no one would take it from them without facing their wrath. As the Kothari fleet retreated, broken and humiliated, the message spread across the galaxy: never underestimate humanity. The humans had a saying: "There's no place like home." But it wasn't just a saying, it was a battle cry. The aliens who faced humanity learned that the hard way, and their stories became a warning to any who thought they could take Earth. Because, in the end, no one defends their home like humans. Not the Kothari, not the Atar, not the Drax, no one. And those who thought they could conquer Earth were left with nothing but scars and a deep, enduring respect for the species that made sure their home was never taken. The ultimate defenders of their home, humans. Part 2. The Resilience of Humanity, the Battle of the Outworlds. The Kothari retreat was just the beginning. Though the invading fleet had been decimated, The galaxy's eyes turned to Earth. What had just happened became a subject of fascination and fear. The Cathari were a formidable species, known for their sheer might and technological superiority, but the humans had driven them out. That was a feat unheard of. News spread across the stars. The Outworlds, a loose coalition of alien empires beyond the core systems, had watched the conflict from the sidelines. Many had observed humanity's struggle with mild amusement. A few had even hoped the Cathari would succeed, thinking that with Earth under their thumb, they could exploit the human resources for their own gain. But as the Cathari were forced to limp home, bruised and battered, something shifted in the galaxy's perception. The Outworlds were not afraid of the Cathari, they were afraid of humans. The next encounter came faster than anyone expected. One of the Outworld's most notorious warlords, a ruthless and power-hungry being named Vexner, saw an opportunity. The humans had proven that they could be dangerous, that they could surprise and overpower even the strongest invaders. But Vexner, unlike the Cathari, wasn't interested in conquest alone. He wanted to break humanity. He wanted to show the galaxy that no matter how fierce they were just another species to be conquered, and no home was beyond his reach. He had his own fleet, far more advanced than anything the Cathari had ever used, and he launched his attack on Earth with the intent to crush it once and for all. The Outworlds had already been watching the Cathari's failure, and Vexner, hoping to build his reputation, figured a decisive victory over Earth would prove that humanity was no more than a brief, unfortunate blip in the galaxy's history. With a fleet of 200 warships and elite soldiers, Vexner aimed to finish what the Cathari had started. Vexner's first move was to launch an orbital bombardment on Earth's major cities, New York, Tokyo, London, and others. The humans, however, had learned from their last invasion. They had prepared for a return strike. Immediately, Earth's defense systems activated, pushing the Outworld fleet away from the planet's surface. It wasn't long before humanity struck back with a vengeance. Vexner's ships were massive and highly advanced, but the humans had something his fleet didn't: adaptability. Using technology scavenged from the Cathari remnants, Earth's scientists crafted an electromagnetic pulse cannon capable of crippling the Outworld warships. The human forces, a mix of military strategists and engineers, quickly devised tactics that would exploit the Outworld's greatest weakness: arrogance. Human soldiers, on foot and in ground-based tanks, fought in guerrilla-style warfare, ambushing the Outworld ground troops. The cities and the wilderness became one vast battleground. Every human who took up arms fought not just for survival, but for the idea of Earth itself. Vexner's fleet was forced to land, and as it did, it encountered terrain unlike anything it had expected. Earth's jungle, forests, mountains, and urban labyrinths became their worst enemies. But it wasn't just the terrain, it was the humans themselves. Every civilian, from the youngest children to the eldest veterans, fought with the kind of tenacity that only comes from the drive to protect one's home. In the early days of the war, it seemed like humanity would be overwhelmed, but they adapted, they evolved. The attacks grew more coordinated, the civilians turned soldiers learned to work with the military, and humanity's rapid innovation came into play. Vexner's heavily armed forces found themselves outmatched by human ingenuity. Vexner's fleet began to dwindle, and what had started as a brutal assault quickly turned into a retreat. The alien warlord, furious and disbelieving, tried to send in reinforcements from other systems, but the humans were already one step ahead. Using tactics they had perfected in the first conflict, they hijacked and disabled alien supply ships, leaving Vexner with no options. With every retreating alien ship, the humans grew bolder, pushing back into the Outworld's territory. They had shown the galaxy that they could not just defend their home, but strike back in ways that no one could have predicted. The final confrontation took place on the edge of a barren asteroid field, where the last of Vexner's fleet tried to make a stand. The humans were closing in on the warlord's flagship, a massive vessel protected by an impenetrable shield. But again, humanity's resolve broke the impossible. Scientists and engineers worked together to create a device that could disrupt the alien shields, and as soon as the barrier was gone, humanity's fighters launched a final, decisive strike. Vexner, now trapped in his ship, realized too late what he had been up against. He had underestimated humans, just as so many others had before him. As the warlord's ship fell to the might of Earth's forces, a message was sent out across the galaxy. It was a simple, unambiguous transmission broadcasted to every corner of the known universe. Never again. The humans had proven their strength, and in doing so, they had earned the galaxy's respect, whether they wanted it or not. Humanity had made it clear, their home was sacred, and no one, not even the mightiest of warlords, would ever take it from them again. Part 3. The Legacy of Humanity's Will, a Galactic Reawakening. The fall of Vexner marked the end of one chapter, but it was only the beginning of something greater. The galaxy had changed, and its inhabitants could no longer view humanity as just another primitive species struggling to survive. The humans had proven something the universe hadn't fully grasped. When it came to defending their home, there was no force, no matter how powerful, that could break their will. The transmission from Earth, simple yet profound, rippled across the stars. Never again. And it wasn't just a statement, it was a warning, a declaration that humanity would not be a passive player in the galaxy anymore. Their home was Earth, and any alien species that sought to harm it would face the fury of a united human front. The Outworlds, for all their power, were stunned. Many of their warlords and conquerors had underestimated the human spirit. They assumed that their advanced technology and vast fleets would simply overpower Earth. But they learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology alone, but the fire that burned inside them, the drive to protect what was theirs, the deep-rooted need to survive. In the wake of Vexner's defeat, ambassadors from multiple galactic empires reached out to Earth. They came in peace, offering trade deals, alliances, and most importantly, their respect. They had seen what humans were capable of, and they understood that underestimating them could have catastrophic consequences. Earth became a hub for intergalactic diplomacy, and soon, humans found themselves at the center of a rapidly changing universe. But the humans didn't get complacent. They knew that their victory, while significant, was just the beginning. The galaxy had learned that humans could defend their home, but the humans themselves knew they would need to keep adapting, keep evolving, to maintain their place in the stars. The first major step came with the formation of the Earth Defense Coalition, an alliance of humans and sympathetic alien species. The coalition's mission was clear: prevent any future threats to Earth and its allies, and ensure that no empire would ever try to subjugate a planet again. This was not just an Earth-based organization. It had a galactic reach, with representatives from dozens of worlds coming together to form a united front. And, despite their relatively young standing among the stars, the humans quickly rose to a leadership role. Commander Helena Cross, the hero of Earth's resistance, was appointed as the first human representative on the Coalition's council. Her leadership and ability to rally both human and alien forces had become legendary. She knew that the universe was filled with threats, but she also knew something far more important. Humanity's strength lay not just in their capacity for war, but in their unparalleled ability to build lasting alliances and grow stronger together. The technology humanity had scavenged from the Cathari and the Outworlds had been reverse-engineered and adapted for use on Earth. What started as a means of survival became a beacon of innovation. The human-led defense coalition began to create weapons, systems, and infrastructures that were second to none: advanced medical technologies, artificial intelligence, and defensive shields that could withstand even the mightiest of fleets. The humans shared these advancements, but they always made sure they remained at the forefront of innovation. Their home was always at risk, and they would always be ready. For decades, Earth remained a beacon of hope in the galaxy. Peace prevailed for a time, but, as is the way of the universe, that peace was never truly permanent. In the far reaches of space, a new empire began to stir: the Draxian Collective, an ancient race that had once ruled entire sectors of the galaxy, had heard whispers of the human victories. They had seen the potential of Earth as a key power in the galaxy and decided to test it, to push humanity once again to prove their strength. The Draxians were a species of highly intelligent and vicious beings, capable of manipulating energy itself. Their armies were vast, and their war machines could obliterate entire planets with ease. They were not like the Cathari, who had relied on sheer power and the might of numbers. The Draxians were cunning, strategic, and patient. They planned their invasion carefully, infiltrating the outskirts of Earth's defenses through subversive means. working behind the scenes to weaken the human alliances. But the humans, after years of vigilance, saw through their plan almost immediately. The Draxian incursion began on a small, remote human colony on the edge of the solar system. What the Draxians didn't know was that the humans had been preparing for an eventual conflict with a hidden strength, the Humanity First doctrine. Earth's defense wasn't just about technology, it was about understanding that, no matter how advanced their enemies were, humans would never stop adapting, never stop evolving. The moment the Draxians made their move, Earth's response was swift and overwhelming. Using newly developed countermeasures, the Earth Defense Coalition repelled the Draxian fleets with surprising ease. The war was not won in the battles themselves, but in the quiet moments when humanity's scientists worked behind the scenes to develop weapons and strategies that would allow them to outsmart their opponents. When the dust settled, the Draxians, once thought invincible, were driven back into the far reaches of space, their fleets shattered, and just like the Kothari before them, they learned the hard way that no one, no matter how ancient or powerful, could ever truly defeat humanity. A new era had dawned. The galaxy now understood, humans were not merely survivors, they were the protectors of their home, and as long as Earth stood, humanity would always rise to defend it. The stories of humanity's victories echoed across the stars, from the depths of the outworlds to the heart of the galactic core. The message was clear. No one defends their home like humans. Not the Kothari, not the Outworlds, not the Draxians, no one. Part 4, The Rise of the Human Dominion, a New Age for the Galaxy. As humanity's victories piled up, so did their reputation across the galaxy. The stories of their resilience, of their unyielding defense of their home, became legends. The galaxy had been shaken to its core, and no one could ignore the meteoric rise of humanity in the cosmic landscape. Where once they had been viewed as just another fledgling species, Earth and its people now stood as the defining force in the galaxy. But with power came responsibility, and with newfound respect came unprecedented challenges. Humanity, having already defended their home from multiple invasions, had grown stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Earth, now a beacon of hope and strength, had begun to consolidate its influence, not through brute force alone, but through the unbreakable alliances and innovative solutions that had become the hallmark of their species. The Earth Defense Coalition, now a fully integrated intergalactic organization, expanded its influence throughout the galaxy. With the might of humanity behind it, the coalition had become a governing body that mediated disputes, forged alliances, and ensured that no species would rise up to threaten the peace they had worked so hard to establish. No longer was Earth a mere planet in the far reaches of the Milky Way, it had become the central pillar of a new order. The human-led coalition now had the resources, technology, and willpower to not only defend Earth but to protect all civilizations that valued peace. What followed was the formation of a new alliance, one that stretched across the galaxy, connecting species of all kinds, each bringing their unique abilities to the fold. But even as alliances were forged, old grudges were not so easily forgotten. There were those, in the more distant parts of the galaxy, who viewed humanity's rise with suspicion. The Draxian collective, though battered, was not entirely gone, and there were factions within the Outworlds who plotted in the shadows, scheming to disrupt the delicate balance of power that humanity had helped create. And then, there were those who simply couldn't accept that a species so young, so seemingly fragile, could command such influence. The human response to these threats was clear: never again. And so, it came to pass that the human empire, now referred to as the Human Dominion, began to solidify its place in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through vigilance and innovation. The Dominion's principles were simple: protect the weak, enforce peace, and defend the innocent. The idea of empire was redefined, not as a system of oppression or tyranny, but as a force that brought stability to a chaotic universe. But this new age of peace did not come without challenges. The Dominion quickly discovered that maintaining peace across such a vast expanse of space required more than military might, it required diplomacy, wisdom, and foresight. One of the most pressing issues was the growing divide between the human-led coalition and certain factions within the Outworlds. Some species, like the Trivenites, a race of peace-loving, energy-based beings, supported the human dominion's idealistic vision for a galaxy of cooperation and shared prosperity. However, there were also those, like the Zither Lords, who resented humanity's interference in their affairs. The Zither Lords, powerful in their own right and known for their brutal, authoritarian rule, had not forgotten the humiliating defeats at humanity's hands. They secretly funded rebel movements, stirring unrest in the outer colonies of the human dominion. As tensions simmered, the coalition held one of the most crucial peace talks the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered at the diplomatic center on Earth to negotiate a new treaty that would solidify the Dominion's role in maintaining galactic order. Commander Helena Cross, now an icon of the human military and a symbol of peace, was chosen to represent humanity in the talks. She was seen not just as a military leader, but as the embodiment of humanity's values, resilience, adaptability, and a relentless drive to protect what they loved. The summit was set on Earth's moon, a neutral ground, yet even as talks began, a shadow loomed over the proceedings. The Zither Lords, seeing the growing unity of the galaxy under human leadership, launched an insidious covert operation to destabilize the peace talks. They sent assassins to eliminate key delegates from the peace talks, hoping to ignite conflict between the Dominion and its allies. The attack was swift and brutal, causing widespread panic among the delegates. Several leaders were killed, and many others were wounded. The assassination attempt had one clear goal: to break the will of the human representatives, to show them that peace was not possible, and that the galaxy would always fall back into chaos. But what the Zither Lords failed to understand was the core of what made humanity unique. They did not break. In the face of treachery and violence, humanity stood tall. The Dominion's response was immediate. Earth's security forces mobilized. And soon, the Zither Lords' spies were exposed, their network dismantled. The attack had failed, not just because of human military prowess, but because humanity's will to maintain peace was unshakable. Commander Helena Cross, devastated by the loss of life at the summit, addressed the galaxy in an unprecedented broadcast. "We are not a people who seek war. We are a people who protect what we hold dear. Our resolve is not just a weapon, it is our shield. We will not be intimidated by those who wish to see us divided. No matter what you throw at us, we will stand together, united, because that is what humanity does." The Zither Lords, seeing the unity that arose from the assassination attempt, realized too late that they had pushed humanity into a corner from which there was no escape. Their plot had backfired. The galaxy saw the truth. Humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with. It was the beating heart of the galaxy's peace. And anyone who threatened that peace would find themselves standing alone against the full might of the human dominion. The message sent across the stars was clear: the galaxy is a safer place because of humanity, and those who challenge that will face consequences. The legacy of humanity, forged in the fires of war and tempered by the pursuit of peace, was now set, and as long as Earth stood, humanity would continue to defend it with every ounce of their being, for as long as it took. No one defends their home like humans, and the galaxy had learned that lesson well. Part 5: The Galactic Rebirth, The Path Forward. The failure of the Zither Lords' assassination attempt marked a pivotal moment in galactic history. The message was clear and resounding across the universe: humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with, but a unifying force that would not be swayed by outside threats or internal divisions. The human dominion had grown from its early days as a small, isolated planet into a force that not only defended its home but inspired countless species across the galaxy to unite behind a common cause. The peace talks, though disrupted, ultimately went on to solidify the foundation for a new galactic order. After the failed assassination attempt, the surviving delegates, now more resolute than ever, worked tirelessly to draft a new intergalactic treaty, one that would cement the human dominion's role as the protector of peace, prosperity, and order throughout the stars. The treaty was a sweeping agreement that acknowledged the human-led coalition's strength but also committed all parties to maintain diplomatic dialogue and cooperation. It was a testament to humanity's belief in peace, even after countless betrayals and attacks. The signing ceremony, held on Earth's moon, was a symbolic moment. Leaders from the outworlds, former adversaries and allies alike, gathered together to pledge their support. It was a rare sight in galactic diplomacy, Species that once considered each other enemies now stood side by side in mutual respect. And in the center of it all stood the representatives of Earth. Commander Helena Cross at the forefront, a living symbol of humanity's triumph against all odds. But peace, as humanity knew all too well, is never permanent. Even in the aftermath of these major diplomatic victories, the human dominion's rise continued to spark unrest in certain quarters. Some factions, particularly the remnants of the Cathari Empire and various rogue warlords, viewed humanity's expansion with fear. The galaxy's new order, with humans at its heart, threatened their own ambitions of conquest and dominance. These factions were not ready to submit to a new order. They would continue to test humanity's resolve. Meanwhile, a new generation of human leaders, scientists, and diplomats began to shape the future of the Dominion. The early days of defense had forged a new kind of society, one where exploration and cooperation flourished as much as innovation and military might. Humanity, having secured peace through strength, now turned its eyes outward, seeking to heal the wounds of the past while ensuring that no one would ever threaten their home again. One of the key projects to emerge in this new era was the creation of the Galactic Rebirth Initiative, a joint human-alien venture to repair and rebuild war-torn worlds. For the first time in galactic history, former enemies came together not to conquer, but to help rebuild and advance the collective good. Humanity led the charge, offering resources, technology, and expertise to planets that had been scarred by centuries of war. The initiative focused on restoring infrastructure, healing ecological damage, and fostering cultural exchanges. It became one of humanity's most lasting contributions to the galaxy, demonstrating that their vision extended far beyond military might. The alliance expanded too. The species that had once held themselves apart now sought to be part of the growing human-led coalition. The Trivenites, with their energy-based form, offered to help humanity perfect new energy sources, while the Targath, an ancient, technologically advanced species, provided humanity with insights into faster-than-light travel. These new alliances not only bolstered human technology but also ensured that the human dominion would be able to maintain its defensive capabilities while fostering new paths for peaceful coexistence. As humanity's influence spread across the stars, Earth itself began to change. No longer just the cradle of human civilization, Earth had become a cultural hub, a thriving center for galactic diplomacy, commerce, and scientific exchange. Its cities were now bustling centers of intergalactic trade, and its universities were some of the most respected in the galaxy, attracting students and researchers from every corner of space. However, the most significant change was perhaps the human spirit. After generations of defending their home, humanity had cultivated an unshakable belief in their ability to shape their destiny. Their drive to protect their planet and their people had bred a culture of resilience, innovation, and a deep sense of unity. The very ideals of the human dominion became a beacon to others, a promise that no species, no matter how small or how young, was beyond their potential to rise, to stand firm, and to defend what mattered most. As the galaxy moved into a new age of cooperation and exploration, humanity took its place not as conquerors, but as protectors, guardians of peace, and stewards of the universe's future. The lessons they had learned from their struggles were passed on to every world they touched. Their stories of resilience in the face of adversity, of standing together against overwhelming odds, became legends, echoing across the stars. And yet, even as humanity basked in the glow of their hard-won peace, they remained vigilant, for as the human dominion had shown the galaxy time and time again, peace must always be defended, and those who sought to break it would face the might of humanity's unyielding will. The galaxy had learned, and the human dominion stood as its living testament. No one defends their home like humans. No one. As long as the stars burned brightly, humanity would remain its shield, ever ready to stand against the darkness. Part 6. The Unseen Threat. A new enemy emerges. Despite the prosperity of the human dominion and the relative peace that had settled over the galaxy, the fabric of intergalactic stability was beginning to unravel in subtle ways. Unseen by the majority of the galaxy's citizens, dark forces stirred in the deepest corners of space, far from the watchful eyes of Earth and its allies. One such force was the mysterious Phantoms of the Void, a faction of unknown origin, whose presence had been detected only in the faintest of cosmic ripples. Their ships were not like those of any known species, for they did not emit heat signatures or detectable energy patterns. They were shadows in the dark, silent and deadly, like wraiths of the deep. Initially dismissed as mere anomalies, they soon proved to be anything but. It all began when several distant frontier worlds in the outermost colonies of the human dominion went silent. Communications ceased, all contact was lost, and when scout ships were sent to investigate, they found nothing, no signs of life, no traces of conflict, only eerie, lifeless silence. The only clue that remained was a strange, cryptic signal broadcasted in a long-forgotten language. A language that none of the Dominion's experts recognized. Humanity, with its unyielding determination, immediately set to work investigating these eerie disappearances. Commander Helena Cross, now a seasoned veteran in both diplomacy and warfare, oversaw a special task force designed to investigate these events. Her years of experience had taught her one irrefutable truth: no matter how peaceful the galaxy seemed, there was always someone waiting in the shadows, ready to strike when least expected. The task force, led by Cross herself, embarked on a daring expedition to investigate one of the missing colonies. Upon their arrival, the team found the planet eerily deserted, its cities abandoned, its streets empty. The air was thick with the feeling of dread. There were no bodies, no sign of violence, no evidence of what had caused the disappearance. However, something else stood out to the human explorers: strange, pulsating energy readings emanating from beneath the planet's surface. It was as though the very fabric of reality had been twisted, warped by some unseen force. Fearing the worst, Commander Cross ordered her team to investigate the source. What they discovered was beyond anything they had ever imagined. Deep beneath the surface, they encountered an ancient, alien structure, a massive temple. Its architecture unlike anything seen before. Its walls shimmered with a dark energy, and at its center was a pulsating core of pure void energy. The moment the human team entered the structure, they were attacked, not by physical weapons, but by the very fabric of space itself. Reality itself seemed to buckle and twist, as if they had entered a realm where the rules of physics no longer applied. At the heart of the temple, they found a terrifying discovery: a massive portal, its edges dark and unstable, swirling with an energy that seemed to draw everything in. The team was ambushed by entities that appeared out of the portal, beings of darkness and malice, with no physical form, only shifting shadows and whispers. These were the Phantoms of the Void, an ancient race that had been exiled from the galaxy long ago. The Phantoms were not of flesh and bone, but of darkness itself, creatures who existed between the spaces of dimensions, able to manipulate the very fabric of the universe. They had been banished to the edges of reality by ancient forces that feared their power. But now, the Phantoms had returned, and they were bent on reclaiming their place in the galaxy, destroying everything in their path. Commander Cross and her team barely managed to escape the ancient temple, bringing with them only a fragment of the knowledge they had uncovered. The portal, however, had been activated, and a new invasion was imminent. The Phantoms of the Void were not simply content with one colony. They sought the entire galaxy, intending to pull it into the dimension of shadows, where they could reign unchallenged. The warning was clear: the galaxy was on the verge of a new kind of war. This was not a war of starships and weapons, it was a war for the very nature of existence itself. The human leadership, galvanized by the threat, called for an emergency summit. Commander Cross, now the key figure in this new galactic crisis, shared the harrowing details of the Phantoms' return and their plans. But what struck the galaxy's leaders most was one chilling truth: the Phantoms were not just a threat to humanity, they were a threat to all life, all existence, as they sought to reshape reality itself. The response from the human dominion was swift. Earth's military forces, combined with the coalition's vast resources, began to mobilize in preparation for the impending battle. But this time, the nature of the war would be different. Conventional weapons would be useless against these creatures of darkness. Humanity would need to adapt, to develop new tactics and technologies that could fight not just physical enemies, but the very fabric of space and time. A new phase in humanity's defense began: the development of reality-forged technology, a groundbreaking initiative aimed at counteracting the Phantom's ability to warp space and manipulate the dimensional boundaries. The best minds from Earth, Trivon, Targath, and many other species began to collaborate, pouring their knowledge into creating technology capable of fighting the Phantom's strange powers. Humanity's scientific community had always been on the cutting edge, but now they were tasked with an entirely new frontier, bending the laws of physics themselves. As the war against the Phantoms of the Void began, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. For the first time in their history, they were up against an enemy that could not be defeated with sheer strength alone. The galaxy had never seen anything like this, a battle not just for survival, but for the very stability of reality itself. Commander Helena Cross, once a symbol of humanity's resilience in the face of physical threats, now became the symbol of their unyielding will to protect existence itself. Her leadership would be tested as never before. But humanity, with its deep-rooted drive to protect what they loved, would rise to meet this challenge. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity would not falter. No one defends their home like humans, and now, they would defend the very fabric of the universe itself.